using your emotions in acting is something that takes some time and some effort to be able to become more comfortable with. And as you become more comfortable with using emotions in your acting, quite a few very interesting things start to happen in your work. See, you have to understand that emotion is actually a byproduct of interaction. And the reason why we do emotional preparation is because the byproduct of the emotion, it doesn't like to be seen. It likes to stay hidden. And it's much more happier than just staying out of the way. But the reality is through interaction, we're able to get emotional expression. And then the emotional expression is the self-evidence of the acting having substance or the acting being good. So what we're really looking for when we're dealing with this using of emotion in acting is we're looking to be able to activate our emotional life with emotional preparation. So if whether you're creating something on a video channel or if you're working as an actor, you want to be able to use emotional preparation as a tool to be able to activate your emotions and then be able to have the interaction of the experience. So this can happen in all sorts of different formats that are artistic and creative. There's this feeling that you have when you're starting to work with and understand emotion. And initially, what will happen is that the actors will actually think that they're using their emotions incorrectly, which is not actually true. They're actually using their emotions correctly, but there's this new feeling, and it's this like feeling like they're being fake, or they're feeling like they're being ingenuine, because it's like this feeling of something new. And when you've got the feeling of something new happening inside of you, and you're still working to be able to be comfortable with emotions, then you've got this dilemma of this almost something that's hitting your trust factor. You're just not sure how you're riding a line of trust. And this is an element that when actors start to work through, they're able to achieve really, really interesting things in their work, because they're able to then trust that they actually are in the place where they need to be, and they're actually experiencing in real time what they need to be experiencing. And those are very large lessons to learn as a creator or as an actor. And in acting and creating, you both have the ability to learn, to be comfortable enough to be able to learn that trust factor. So it's really interesting situation. What will actually end up happening is that you'll have this feeling like you've catapulted, or you'll have this feeling like you've accelerated, and you're not sure if you have control or who has control or if there is any control. And sometimes those are the emotions and the meaning that's the undercurrent to the emotional life. And when you've got that emotional undercurrent beneath you, you actually have this facilitation that happens in you where you're paying attention. Things might be happening at a very quick pace, but you're maybe taking them in very slowly. You're able to see things and every single thing you're noticing. So you have both almost a slow motion effect of taking in life, but meanwhile, life is actually happening at a very fast pace. And this is some of the experiences that actually happen when you're working with emotions and acting. It's rather important that when you're feeling these feelings of lightheadedness or of emotion, you don't worry about identifying what they are at that exact time. Because in time, you'll end up processing what it is that you're working on, and you'll be able to process that when you go back and you do your journaling for your creative journal, or you go back and do your journaling for your acting journal. And you then start to catalog your experiences, and you start to be able to understand what it is that you actually lived and the experience that you lived, and what the experience actually felt like to live through it, because that was an actual real-time experience. And when you're dealing with a real-time experience, then you start getting into the nuances of why film is so special and why video is so special, because you're able to then understand and better understand who you are as an artist and who you are as an actor. So when you're using your emotions in acting, you want to learn how to be able to trust yourself enough to be able to let the emotions have an ebb and a flow. You want to be able to have your emotions come and go as freely as possible. The more freedom that you can give your emotions to come into your work and do their thing and leave, the more you're going to have life flowing through you. And in time, what happens is that you actually learn craft, and you're able to learn how to prepare or emotionally prepare, or how to be able to work within a certain range of emotions. And when you're able to work within a certain range of emotions, you're able to do this thing called emotional preparation for artists, and you're able to then learn how to be able to keep your emotional preparation within a certain range. So, for instance, this topic is the use of emotion in acting, but it still has many different variations of how it is that it's actually used. So there's not one application. So there has to be fluidity in your acting to be able to have emotions be present, which is rather important, because when you're able to be present, because you're being present actually in your artistic life during the real-time experience of acting, you focus on being present, and you trust that your emotional preparation or your emotions, however that becomes. Some people use emotional preparations and other people have different words for it. But however your emotions get quantified in your work, you will let them come and go. So you let them ebb and flow. And as you're letting your emotions ebb and flow throughout yourself, then you work on the connection, you work on the interaction, you work on the basics of acting, and this alone will be a stepping stone in your work to be able to include emotions in your acting. And as you go through emotions in acting, you will then be able to discover that you are able to not manipulate, but you are able to purpose your emotions in acting to various different ranges. And then that's the reason why you're able to get ranges within acting. And the first person that does the purposing of emotions for an acting project or production is typically the writer or the creator, because the creator will set down a range of topics or a range of emotions that is actually part of the aspect of the project. And then the writer takes the creator's process, and the writer sits down with those intentions and understands that there's a range of which that they're trying to be able to tell a story that might have an arc, which usually does have an arc, but it definitely includes a range of emotions that someone goes through that's attainable. So the attainment of that and the ability to work with the writer's materials is the actor's ability to be able to use their emotions in acting. And when the actor's able to use their emotions in acting, they have to understand that it is not a persecution or a prosecution or a pursuant of trying to be able to achieve, to show certain emotions. It's a relaxed event where the actor has to learn the type of relaxedness that actually is pertinent or is in the list of the range of emotions that's to be felt in the acting. And once they have that and keep working within those emotional ranges, they'll become more and more comfortable if they're doing this work during the production, and if they're working with the right type of person or a group of people that work in a similar way, they'll be more likely to achieve this earlier on in the production. And that would mean that they might even start the entire process out right from the beginning. They might be able to just jump right in to a process because they've done rehearsals that have warmed up those ranges of emotion. So then they have emotions in their acting because they've done their rehearsals to be able to know that those were the emotional ranges to warm themselves up in. So they have this innate relaxedness when it comes to the filming. And they're paying attention to being present, and they're interacting with the production versus what was the other alternative, which is the person's not present and they're trying to present or perform emotion. And that's not really advisable. You want to be able to not perform emotion. You want to be able to have the emotion come and go as it pleases. And you want to be able to then, when the time comes for like maybe a very intense emotional scene, you've built up the skills and the craft to be able to get more intense with an emotion and yet still be able to have it. Now there's a very old saying. It says, if you love it, if it loves you, it will love you back. And this is the exact saying that you want to just grind into your head about what it is with emotional preparation or with emotions in acting. Because you want to be able to understand that if the emotion that you're feeling when you're being present, which you don't worry about, you just let it come and you let it go. If it wants to stay there and be there with you for the entire scene, it has its will. It can. It's very important. If you try to hold on to that emotion, you may end up losing the emotion for a long time. It might take quite a long of acting work to be able to get that emotion to come back, because that emotion is actually something that you're looking to try and you can't abuse emotion. It's not gonna, well, you can abuse emotion, but you really don't want to abuse emotion, because emotion has a way of just not wanting to come back if you don't treat it well and treat it with freedom. So as an actor and as a creator, you want to be able to achieve many different things, and you're capable. You're definitely capable of achieving many different things in acting. But you want to be able to achieve that with the freedom of emotional techniques, with the freedom of adding emotions into your acting. You don't want to do that with the harnesses of and the hardness of trying to be strict with yourself and with what it is that you're trying to do, because you're trying to be able to perform or achieve something too directly. And if you go back and you look at some very experienced people in any kind of industry, you can see them being very relaxed. They know how to stay present. They know what things mean. but they have a freedom of letting things come and go emotionally with them. And that's probably the realness that you might like about them. And this is a very important topic to be able to understand at any stage of acting. You want to be able to fully be able to achieve the ability to have emotional freedom, an emotion to be in your acting, but in a very, very, very free way. And trust it. It will show up. It will show up in ways and times that you may not even notice it yourself because you're paying attention and you're interacting. And then you'll wonder to yourself, how did you achieve this? How did this even happen? And then it will probably take several months, maybe only several days, and it could even take longer, to be able to really harness down to understand the reasons why an emotion stays or an emotion goes with you as a specific person. And when you're able to achieve that, you're starting to get the work, starting to get it. Nobody ever gets it fully, but everybody is able to achieve much of it if they're able to have the freedom to be able to achieve it. You really want to understand that involvement is the automatic. It's an automatic thing with emotion. Emotion comes in automatically. And that's, you trust the interaction, and you trust that you're open, and you allow that to flow through you, and it will find you. And it will be there for your work when you need it, if you work with your emotions in acting this way.